Welcome back to my channel, guys. I'm Tom Foolery, and today we're going into part 3 and the final steps in how we take a 3D printed product like this, with all of these jagged edges, lines from printing, the build up of layer after layer, all our join lines if we've had multiple pieces we've put together, how we take that and we turn it into something like this. A final product. Still a couple of details I want to go over on this, and I'm going to weather it and everything else, which we will follow up in another video. But this is how we get rid of all those layer lines. We've gone over some things in the first few videos, how we prep our print, post-process, using filler primer, different putties, things like that you can get here in Australia. Now we're going to look at paints. Now this is the final step. We're going to be masking off the areas we want. We're going to be painting. We've already primed, and we're going to get a nice finished helmet just like this. So let's go. Okay, so I'm just coming in with some 320 grit sandpaper now just to get those final rough bits off. All the little bits we get from our filler primer and everything, just tiny little roughness. I want to have it perfectly smooth, getting rid of the dust and things that have just accumulated on it. So we're just going to give it one last sand down, getting in the edges and everything perfect before we start getting ready to paint. We have our helmet all sanded down and we are looking nice and smooth. You can see in a couple of areas the color is a little bit different. That's basically where we still have some of the dust from sanding kind of just sitting, and if I rub my hand on it you can see that come off there. So what we're going to do now is, that's not ideal to paint straight on, so we're actually going to go in and wipe all this down, make sure this is nice and clean before we start painting. You should do this at every layer as well, guys, whether you're doing filler, primer, paint, whatever. If you're going to be painting or spraying anything onto a product, always make sure it's clean and wiped down. You do not want to be getting that. That's not what you want to be painting on top of. So, let's go wipe this down.
Alright, so I'm just using a glass cloth here. This is for windows. You can get them at most auto places. Even Bunnings have them from time to time. You don't want to go with a microfiber cloth because they will leave little hairs and wisps caught on some of the sharp bits and corners and things of your 3D print, and that's going to ruin your paint. We're just wiping it all down. We're trying to get rid of things, get rid of the dust. We don't want to leave anything behind. This is also the reason we don't use wipes. Don't use alcohol wipes or baby wipes because they will tear and leave little bits all over it. You get these wispy little hairs and they are horrendous to get rid of.
Okay, so we've wiped all this down. It's nice and smooth, and as I just showed, you can see there's no more layer lines. There's none of those high ridges on the top of those final layers. This is clean as we're going to get it. Now you can keep going, you can keep sanding it, you can keep priming it, whatever you want until you're happy with it, guys. The level of what you're going to do with any piece is entirely up to you. You don't have to do all this. You could have it just straight off the printer and paint it if you like. If that's what you're happy with, go ahead, guys. But this is where we're at. Now, I'm going to start masking this off for painting. Now, I'm not going to do a layer first and then mask off the next. I'm going to build that up as I go. The reason I'm going to mask off now is one of the colors that I'm using on the Clone Trooper helmet is gray. There are gray areas. Now, I don't need to come in and hit this with gray paint. I'm going to hit this with a nice gloss when I'm finished, or give it a good resin coat when I'm done. But right now, I have gray already here, so I'm going to start masking this off. Now, to mask off, guys, You can use a Cricut to cut out the designs and get the exact things you want. If you're doing a nice big pattern or something detailed like Wolf's design on the front, you could use a Cricut to cut that out. You can get the small little tiny Cricuts. I've got one of those here that I got for less than $200 from Officeworks. They're easy to use. You can send stuff from your phone. You can download an image off Google, cut out the background and send it over to your phone. It's really simple, only takes a few minutes. But we don't need to do that. We're just going to do this, guys. We're going to go in with some masking tape, literally just masking off where we want to keep a different color. So we're starting with the gray. I'm going to mask off the gray. Then I'm going to go in and I'm going to hit it with a nice color. Probably going to go with orange. I think that's what we've decided we're doing for this one. So I'm going to hit it with orange. Then I'm going to mask off the pattern of the orange and hit it with the last few colors and just build it up as I go. You know, grays, blacks, oranges, whatever I'm doing. This is what I'm using, guys. This is, you can get it on special sometimes, but you can grab this at Bunnings, Mitre 10, Big W, Kmart, anywhere that sort of sells painting or cleaning supplies. You'll be able to get this stuff. It's just masking off tape. There are a few different brands. I use the Bodyworks one. You can also get this at auto detailers and things like that. I use the Bodyworks one because it has the least amount of residue. Always let your paint dry as well, guys, before going in and doing this. If your paint's not entirely dry, I usually say give it 12 hours or more. If it's not entirely dry and you're using a paint that has a gloss, that top layer that's in it, that actually gives it that gloss, the acrylic, the little bit of plastic that's in the paint, that will actually take on that residue more and it will damage your paint. It's not something you can just polish off or wipe off or clean off later. It is going to ruin your paint job. Now, I've done this many, many times. I've done it R2-D2. I did it with him. I ended up with these horrible lines, these horrible marks all over his dome, which before that looked absolutely stunning. Had to sand it back, prime it again, and I started from fresh. If you make a mistake in painting, guys, it is not the be-all, end-all. You can start again, and you don't have to go all the way back to the start. Just clean up what you're doing and go in again with that color. Again, it's totally up to you. Everything's trial and error. Give it the best shot you've got. But let's go take this off.
Now, guys, I'm just using these needle nose to come in and push back the tape just to get it into the right creases, make sure it's lined up properly. I don't want tape being where, I don't want to tape off. I want to make sure that the grey parts stay grey and anything else is perfectly fine. So I'm trying to make sure that I keep these lines nice and clean. As I said, I go in with this. Later on, I actually bring in an X-Acto knife and I come in with that. So after I put the tape on, I'll follow around the lines and the edges with an X-Acto knife and just trim off what I don't need. Alright, so we've jumped into the paint booth again, guys. Now, I've gone over this in my last video, how to do basic paint movements. We're starting to spray off the piece, and then we're coming across and finishing on the other side, and just going over again. You don't want one continuous spray. It can cause issues with your cam, with the spray, with the amount that you end up in different spots. Again, just go nice and light, dusting over. I'm doing black here, just going over where I want to keep it black. I'm going to do the mouthpiece and then around here on the band around the headpiece. Although I come back in later and realize that that's only on certain products that are sold. If we go back to the original animated series and we're looking at that and we're going from our reference images, which I will show you later, there's no black band, so I decided to come back and get rid of it. Here we are, guys, so I'm showing you where I've gone in with the black, and we're just going to do the same thing here and tape this off. As I said, I actually decide later on, and I decide a bit too late, that I don't want to keep the band, so I come back over and I cut off the tape for the band before spraying it with a nice coat of orange. But yeah, enjoy taping off for a minute.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that. Spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas. Think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains at last, and to believe in what you got, it was built to last, yeah.
Now that I've been put through hell, I never got anyone's help. I had to do it all myself.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Alright, now that we've taped off what we want to keep black, keeping in mind that I did say I'm going to come back and take off the band later, because I changed my mind, we're going to go over this with a nice flat orange. Now I grabbed this from Subcheap Auto. I absolutely love some of the paints we can get there. This is $19 a can. The metallic paints that I use from the same company, which is the MTR Pro. You can get the enamel-based paint, which we're using here, but you can also get the metallic candy finish paint, which is a single paint like you see here. It's not a two-tone or a two-piece paint. In one single can, it's the same metallic paint I use on R2-D2 and projects like that. So we're going to go over with the orange. Again, we're just purging our can to begin with, making sure it's nice and clean before it comes out, and we want it to be a nice steady stream before we start. Let's go. Alright, so now we've gone over with the orange that we like, and we've got a nice, smooth, heavy coat. We don't want it, obviously, to be too heavy or run. We're going to grab our reference image, and we're going to start taping off some of the details. So, as I said before, I got rid of that black band that I was putting around it, because it doesn't show up on the actual piece in the animated series. So, I'm coming back in now, and again, I'm just using the same tape, and I'm taping off the areas that I want to keep orange, and then as I go over the head and I do the details, I'm just going to be using an X-Acto knife to clean up the exact pieces I want, the nice details I want, and getting nice clean edges.
have our helmet all taped off. We've done the black, the grey, now the orange. We've got it all taped off in the areas that we want to keep orange. How do we decide where we're going to put the markings and things? Obviously based on our reference image we were looking at, we want to go in with certain areas we want to be white and certain areas we want to be orange. You can do this from the get-go. You can tape off just the areas you want to keep orange, and we can leave the bits that we want it to be white. What I'm going to do is tape off the whole amount like I've shown here. I'm actually going to come back in and cut out from the tape the pattern that I want. Now I prefer to do this because it's easier to come up and pull it back again. I can edit it and change it because I'm going to use a pencil to draw it over. Now, I could use my Cricut to put in the design originally, put it on, cut around it. You could do this by printing it out on a piece of paper, cutting it out, putting it on, a bit of blue tack to hold it in place or sticky tape, trace around it, thing. But that's how we're going to do it. We're going to put our pattern on here with some pencil, cut it out with our X-Acto knife, and then we're going to have the bits that we want to be white and the bits that we want to be orange. All right, let's go back.
Alright, so again, using our reference image, I've gone in and drawn on just with a pencil the areas that I want to now cut out to leave white. So I'm just using the same X-Acto knife I used earlier that I went around the edges just to clean up when I was focusing on different corners and edges and things. And I'm just going to cut these out and use the same knife turned on its side a little bit to lift up the tape and take them off carefully without scratching into the paint or scratching into the detail of the helmet. Alright, so now that we've taped off the areas we want, we've cleaned up the edges and everything, we're going to hit this with white. And I can pretty much go over everything with white. There are obviously areas that we want to be black again. There's little bits that I didn't tape off earlier. That's because I'm going to come in later with a brush and just put some acrylic paint over those and make them nice and clean. And then I can dry brush over like the silver details and that. This is just getting in these nice larger details and getting the different color layers on here before we come in with the tiny details and the specifics. Alright, here I'm actually painting mostly in one direction as well. I'm starting on the side of the tape and going across. It's easier to end up with paint seeping under your tape, no matter how tight you put it, if you come back the other way.
Alright guys, so I'm almost finished up with this helmet now. There's a couple of things that if I'm not too happy, usually with some of the edges and things, I'll go back in and I'll either use a really fine brush. I can spray a little bit of the spray paint back into the lid or into a piece of paper or something. Just heavy enough that I can pick it up with a brush, not too heavy, go over and fix up some of the little details. However, I'm not too bothered with this because I am going to weather it. Join me in another video coming out soon where I will be ripping this thing apart and weathering it and making it look like it's been through battle like a real 332nd member. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video so far. This has been 3 parts. This is the last bit of this one, just to set up the paint, the priming, and everything you do after you've 3D printed a product. You can transfer this to anything guys, not just helmets. I've done this with R2-D2s, droids, all sorts. But I hope you've enjoyed this and you like this finished product. And best luck with yours. Thanks guys.